The episode 5 promo looks to be insane, so in my opinion, I think we are in for another exciting ride in Game of Thrones Season 7 Episode 5. Let's go ahead and break down what exactly happened in the promo teaser. The very first shot of the Episode 5 promo trailer is of Dany addressing the broken down and beaten Lannister/Tarly soldiers. She mentions that she is not here to murder, but then mentions if they don't bend the knee, that they will die. This is pretty oxymoronic if you ask me. It could be the way the trailer is edited, but she's definitely going to be giving these soldiers some sort of speech. She does want them to join her cause. So it looks like the beginning of it, she's trying to rally them, and then by the end, it looks like she might not be giving them a choice. So I feel like Daenerys could be showing parts of being more like her father, or just like a Targaryen in general. Emilia Clarke actually did an interview. In the interview, she's talking about how they filmed the scene, The Field of Fire. She mentions that every time Daenerys gets hurt, she lets more of her Targaryen side out. Now, letting that Targaryen side out is interesting. It relates to this episode 5 promo in which Varys is telling Tyrion that he needs to make her listen. Tyrion needs to be the voice of reason and explain to Daenerys that jumping the gun and hopping on a dragon and burning shit is not exactly the best way to get the portrait of her and who she is as a ruler across to the common people of Westeros. Jaime and Bronn are in fact missing from the shots of Daenerys giving that speech about bending the knee or dying. They could have in fact escaped. When they fell into that lake, the entire area was surrounded in smoke and ash, so it would definitely be possible for these two to swim to the other side and take an alternative route to King's Landing. If Jaime and Bronn are in fact in prison, then that means that they arrived with Daenerys back on Dragonstone, and Daenerys could be deciding what she's going to be doing with Jaime. Obviously, Tyrion is going to vouch for his brother and try to convince Daenerys and Jaime that Jaime should be fighting for Daenerys, and they ultimately need to end this squabble and go and fight the White Walkers beyond. Varys could be telling Tyrion in this scene that since Daenerys is not listening to Tyrion when Tyrion is trying to help out his brother Jaime, that he needs to make her listen. Now, I watched this trailer like 30 times and I could not get a glimpse of Gendry or the Hound. I do think the Hound will be showing up in this episode. We haven't seen him since episode 1, and I was reading an interview recently in which the Hound mentioned that he got injured by having to carry someone on his shoulder for days and days. So that means that scene was filmed over the course of several days, and instead of having a dummy, he had to carry an actual person. This most likely relates to the next part of the trailer, which is Dany arriving back at Dragonstone, and Jon is out to meet her. Dany arrives on the back of Drogon and lands in front of Jon. This is him and Drogon's second meeting. This is their first official face-on-face meetup. Obviously, Jon Snow is going to be intimidated, so if Daenerys wants to get her point across, I think now will in fact be that time. If Jon had planned on kneeling anytime soon to Dany, this would be the perfect time to do it. She's flying in on Drogon, and if he decides to change his mind, he could say he wasn't kneeling and that the wind from Drogon's wings actually made him. During this scene, with Daenerys landing in front of Jon Snow on the beach, we're giving a dub over of Cersei, and she's talking to Qyburn about how whatever obstacle is put in her place, they will overcome it. Episode 5 is in fact slated to be 59 minutes, so that's going to be almost 10 minutes longer than episode 4, so I think we'll get extra scenes, and in those scenes, one in particular will be Qyburn delivering the news to Cersei of the Field of Fire. I think we may see, even though Jaime could have escaped, he might not have made it back to King's Landing yet, but I think we'll see that Cersei is in fact even more hardcore. She's ready to just write off Jaime. She will move forward with her plans, just like when she found out the news of Tommen. Jaime could in fact be captured by Daenerys, and he's just absent from the shots of Daenerys and the Lannister soldiers from in the trailer. The next shot we're given is of Dany and Jon in the war room at Dragonstone. Look at how this scene is set up. Daenerys is in the north and Jon Snow's in the south. There's not much to Jon being positioned in the south other than the fact that he was born in the south, but I love how Daenerys is in the north. She's just sitting at the head of the table, and it just so happens to be that way, but I think ultimately by the end of this season, she will be taking her dragons up north to fight the White Walkers. Jon then of course delivers the message to Daenerys that Bran, his brother, has been warging crows, and those crows have been flying over the Night King troops, and Bran has found out that the Night King is moving towards Eastwatch by the Sea. Jon Snow, of course, being at Dragonstone, did not hear this in person from Bran, and I noticed that he is holding a raven scroll in his hand, so this is of course how the message was delivered to Jon Snow. Imagine if Bran used his power on the raven that delivered Jon Snow that message. He could make it travel directly there, and it could sort of be like the Westerosi version of a DM. This conversation with Daenerys is likely what makes Jon Snow want to leave for Eastwatch by the Sea. Hopefully what's said is something along the lines of, Alright, fine. I will officially take my dragons up north to help you fight this war if you bring me back proof of the threat of White Walkers. Jon had initially been planning to head to Eastwatch by the Sea anyway. This will just give him further confirmation. Perhaps Daenerys lends him a few of her troops. If we freeze frame on that image of Jon, Davos, Varys, and Daenerys in the war room, we can see that Daenerys still has the Unsullied icon on top of Casterly Rock. We see her dragons over to the right are sort of near Dragonstone, but there is this dragon figurine in the center, and that honestly has me wondering if she placed one there for her victory in the Field of Fire. Now, these figurines could in fact be placed anywhere willy-nilly all over the map table when they aren't in use, but it's much more fun to speculate that each one of these figurines placed in a certain location means something. So I want you guys to write down below what you think that those dragon icons in the middle of the table represent. Ultimately, the resolution is quite low, and I fear we'll have to wait until episode 5 actually premieres to get the meaning and significance behind the placement of these figurines. One thing that caught my attention about the overhead shot that we're given of Bran warging the ravens to spy on the Night King is the fact that the Night King is on a raised platform, almost as if he's consulting with his generals, his White Walker generals. This is an interesting parallel to the many shots we've been given throughout Game of Thrones history of human armies marching by as their leaders meet up and converse. Now, we have never seen the White Walkers communicate. We haven't seen them speak in the books or the TV show. This would be a perfect way of showing us that they do have a culture that exists if Bran is working on them, and before the Night King becomes aware, they communicate with each other. I imagine their voice sounds like ice crackling. We have seen a White Walker let out sort of like a screeching noise, but that's nowhere near speaking and having another conversation with someone who's the leader, like the Night King. This would be the perfect way of showing us that, because they may in fact feel comfortable if they are unaware of Bran's warg. I do not think that Jon Snow will be heading to Eastwatch in this episode. We all know that he has to go home first to Winterfell, reunite with the Starks, pack supplies, and then head to Eastwatch by the Sea. If you would like to know the significance of Eastwatch by the Sea, all you have to do is click the link straight up here, and that'll take you to a video I did before the season started. The last line of the trailer is given to us by Davos, and he says bad things are coming, doing his legendary role of informing everyone in Westeros that their petty little squabbles between who owns this land and who sits on this throne does not matter, because the dead are coming. We legitimately only have 3 episodes left of this season, and we will have to wait longer than a year for season 8. So, along with them addressing the fact of the White Walkers potentially having a subculture, I would like to see them touch back on Daenerys and Jon Snow in the cave and what that painting, the significance of it. I want to see basically a copy of that at the Citadel, and maybe Sam comes across it when he's copying some of the scrolls or when he's going back into that forbidden section in the library. I also want to see them touch on the fact that if Jon Snow actually bent the knee, I don't think he did it, but he could have done it in that cave. Now, they didn't actually show it on screen, and something monumental as Jon Snow bending the knee to Daenerys, we need to physically see that on the television screen, and there was some debate about whether he did it in my comment section. I would love it if they addressed on what happened at the end of that cave before Jon and Daenerys exited. I would also like to see them touch on the back history of the show's version of the Golden Company, because in the novels, the Golden Company was founded by Aegor Rivers, who was a fake Targaryen, so it would be interesting to see that if Cersei has now recruited these fake Targaryens to fight Daenerys, who is a real dragon, this could mean that Aegon is potentially brought into the fray. Now, I know it's too late to bring a major player into the game like Fagon, but in the novels, when the Golden Company touches the shores of Westeros, Aegon is with them, and so is Jon Connington. Jon Connington sort of has a show version in Jorah where Jon Con actually has grayscale and could potentially spread it to all of Westeros. Quick history of Aegon/Fagon Targaryen. Basically, in A Dance with Dragons, Tyrion Lannister discovers that this dude is going by the name of Young Griff and that he is truly Aegon Targaryen in disguise. A story is given to Tyrion about how Aegon was switched out with another baby by Varys and was spirited away to be raised off in secret until he was old enough to claim the Iron Throne. The guy does sort of fit the description of a traditional Targaryen. He's got purple eyes and his silver pear blonde hair is dyed blue. The real Aegon was likely killed during Tywin Lannister's sack of King's Landing. His head was said to be dashed against the wall and he died on impact. This of course took place during Robert's Rebellion. It's likely not going to happen, but just imagine if Cersei is able to lead an army of fake Targaryens to fight Daenerys. That means that we will have another Blackfire Rebellion. What does that make this, number 6? There was also some debate about why Jon Snow doesn't have silver hair like the rest of the Targaryens. Well, here's a perfect example. Aegor Bittersteel Rivers was a bastard Targaryen and he had black hair. I think the main thing is that black hair is a more dominant gene than silver/pale blonde hair. Super special thank you to Angel, Lynn Shaw, Joe Swag, Sammy Omer, Darton, Justin Stone Diaz, Terry, Enid, Elder Flores, Dean Crowseye, Juliet, I See But Not Really, and Kathleen Cotter. Without you guys, these videos would not be possible, and if you all watching would like to become a sponsor to Sir Hound's Reviews, all you have to do is click the link up here or check down below in the description. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video, go ahead and subscribe, and then make sure you turn your notifications on so that way you get notified every time I drop Game of Thrones content. If you would like to be entered into the contest to win this lovely mystery Funko Pop figure, all you have to do to enter that contest is like this video, comment down below, make sure you're subscribed, and then hop on Twitter and follow me. My name's Mark, and this episode 5 preview breakdown has been brought to you courtesy of Sir Hunt's Reviews.